The White House Situation Room, the bunker, the most secure room in the Western Hemisphere. It's where Obama watched the bin Laden raid. It's hardened against bombs and spies, but apparently not political turmoil. Because last summer, the most powerful people in your United States government gathered in that room in a crisis meeting to figure out how to keep you from reading about Donald Trump in the Epstein files. That's right, the bin Laden raid and Jeffrey Epstein. The same room. That room exists for nuclear war and terrorist attacks, disasters flattening our cities. Your tax dollars built it, staff it, and guard it. And the national emergency that the Trump regime used this room for was that their boss was allegedly implicated with Jeffrey Epstein. That is what your government is serving. Not protecting you, protecting him from the files about his dead friend, the child trafficker. And look, I have promised you that I will not stop talking about the Epstein files, even when it is obvious the algorithm doesn't want these videos getting in front of a bunch of people. Yet here we are. So the story. The New York Times published this excerpt from a new book. And this book has a shocking look at the lengths that this administration has gone to in order to protect the president from the allegations of his involvement with Jeffrey Epstein. And let's go back. Let's go back to July 17th, 2025. The DOJ's "there is no client list" memo, it's just detonated inside the MAGA base. The Wall Street Journal, they're prepping that damaging story about Trump's relationship with Epstein. And so J.D. Vance convenes a Situation Room crisis meeting. And either on the phone or in the room in person were J.D. Vance, the Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, Attorney General Pam Bondi, Todd Blanche, Kash Patel, the entire communications leadership, all of that. The national security bunker filled for a public relations problem because Donald Trump allegedly abused children. And this all was spurred because the DOJ built a prototype of a searchable Epstein database. They stress tested it, and among one of the first results that came back on a Trump search was an allegation from accuser Sarah Ransom. And it came from a settled civil case, and I've got to say that this accusation was later retracted, but there was a settlement. And it described in very specific terms what this trafficked girl allegedly told her about sleeping with Donald Trump and what he was fixated on. And I'm not going to get into the specifics. You can read them, you can find them. They involve a part of the female anatomy and the word rough. And the senior leadership of your federal government sat in that bunker and debated whether or not the American people could be allowed to type in the president's name into a search box to protect the president. Ask yourself the only question that matters here. Why? Why does this president, of all the presidents, need a bunker full of cabinet officials wargaming a search engine? Innocent men do not convene crisis meetings about an index of a website. Innocent men say, publish it all. Knock yourselves out. I've got nothing to hide. Yet Donald Trump and his goons treated these government's files like an incoming missile. The fact that they panicked over it, that's the story. You don't hide in a bunker when there's nothing to hide from. But that's not the worst part. This whole thing gets way more dastardly. J.D. Vance floated a big idea in that room. And his idea was to send Tucker Carlson into a federal prison to interview Ghislaine Maxwell from prison while she is serving time for trafficking children with Jeffrey Epstein. The hope was that she would state that Trump had not been any part of the wrongdoing. The Vice President of the United States was pitching a character reference for the president from a convicted child trafficker delivered by a podcaster lunatic. This is disgusting. And this pitch worked so well that Susie Wiles reportedly came away convinced that J.D. Vance is a conspiracy theorist, his own chief of staff colleague. And what happened? Todd Blanche ended up doing the interview himself. And shock of all shocks, Maxwell said that Trump never did anything concerning in her presence. And she was also moved to a lower security prison. Wonder how that exchange happened. Seriously, think about how Maxwell is actually being treated right now. After her cozy little sit down with Todd Blanche, she was transferred against normal Bureau of Prisons procedures with no explanations to a minimum security camp in Texas, where reports have shown that she gets special perks that infuriate the other inmates. So she pleads the fifth to Congress, essentially, dangles that she will happily testify that Trump and Bill Clinton did nothing wrong if and only if the president grants her clemency. That is, again, disgusting. Insert a pardon, receive an alibi. Think about who this administration cages and who they pamper. But think about it. People are sitting right now in DHS detention. No violent records, no criminal record at all. And they are sitting in deplorable conditions while a convicted abuser of children gets upgraded to a nicer facility because she's useful to the president. Your government's mercy is not about what you did. It's about what you can do for Donald Trump. And that should make your blood boil no matter what color hat you're wearing. And meanwhile, inside the DOJ, there was a virtual knife fight. The day that memo dropped, Dan Bongino reportedly stormed into a meeting and screamed at Pam Bondi, "You effed this thing up from the start. That dumb effing charade with the Epstein files, the they're on my desk nonsense, all the promises to the folks out there." And he's not wrong. I hate admitting that, but he's not wrong. And thankfully, with all of this crap surrounding the Epstein files that we still don't have the full picture of, the public isn't buying any of it. A brutal new poll that came out Wednesday shows widespread doubt, including among Republicans, that this administration has delivered any justice or accountability in the Epstein matter at all. Yeah, 3.5 million pages got released, and only because Congress had to pass a law that forced it. But what we got? Massive redactions and an incomplete release that's dragged out with no sign of justice ever being served. And don't forget the names in this story, by the way. Vance, Patel, Bondi, Blanche, Wiles, every single one of them sat in that bunker and treated the survivors as an effing PR problem, while the convicted trafficker sitting in jail is an asset to the president. And their boss gets to pay zero consequences for allegations that will never go away. There were real girls, real survivors. And the most powerful people in America spent a crisis meeting protecting exactly one person, and it wasn't any of us, and it wasn't any of the survivors. Look, the algorithm, they're going to try to bury this video, but it cannot make me and other people like me, it can't make us stop making these videos. And that's why I need you to comment. That's why I need you to share this everywhere, and I need you to subscribe, because I will keep telling this story, and so will all of the folks in independent media that care.